Elias Lindholm of the Calgary Flames has been subject to many, many trade rumors since the last season ended. We know the Calgary Flames didn't have the year they wanted last year by any means, mainly because of the coaching. We know that. They know that. That situation's over now. But the Calgary Flames need to make a decision on what they want to do with Elias Lindholm. Currently has 1 year left at $4.85 million left on his contract, and has publicly came out and said that he will not be signing long-term with the Calgary Flames. Now, we've seen lots of trade rumors, pretty much, like I said, over the entire offseason. And the Calgary Flames, I think they need to make a decision quickly on what they want to do with Elias Lindholm. It's not easy to trade a player of his stature. He's pretty good. They're going to want to return, so there'll be a lot of negotiation. But 1 year left on $4.85 million. I think this is the opportunity to trade Elias Lindholm if the Calgary Flames choose to do so, making it easier on other teams for wanting him and having the opportunity to re-sign him. Noah, what do you think on the whole situation with Elias Lindholm? And just say, what do you think of the opportunity of him being traded versus re-signing with the Calgary Flames?
Well, I think you got to look at the whole Matthew Tkachuk. We all know that situation, and he said he didn't want to resign long term, and they ended up trading him. And I think it's kind of the same sort of situation here. And Elias Lindholm's a very talented player, and I think when Calgary trades him, I should say, because I think they're going to end up trading him. I think they're going to get a pretty good haul in return.
Yeah, I know. It's a safe bet. Like I said, it's the opportunity to trade him if you want to, where he's not on a long-term contract. The team that trades for him can dictate what they want to give him, would negotiate back and forth. But like you said, with the Matthew Tkachuk deal, these are the forwards here. Their forwards are still very, very good. This team should not have ended up where they were last year, mainly because of Daryl Sutter. I think they got rid of him too late. Should have been mid-season, At mid-season, when they seen that they were going a bit downhill in the standings, I think that should have been the opportunity to get rid of him, get the new start going. But Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar, I think that is not a bad trade at all. That still is a very good trade. Obviously, last season might not look like it because we know how good Matthew Tkachuk was and how bad Huberdeau was based on point drop-off. But Mackenzie Weegar and Jonathan Huberdeau are still two very, very good players, and they will be good for next season with Calgary Flames once everything, cools down. But the Calgary Flames contracts as well are not looking too good for next year based on the expiry. You can see here, I know it's a bit small, but the best I could do to get them all in. You got a lot of star players, and Oliver Chillington as well on the defense is expiring next year. A lot of players who are going to be UFAs next season, a few RFAs. So I think that you got to kind of go for it this year before, you get rid of some players, add some players. Knowing that these defensemen here are going to be possibly not re-signing with the Calgary Flames next year, you got to get the tires rolling on some stuff to be able to compete this year and hopefully keep on going next year, obviously, with all those expiring players. But we got a few trade rumors here. Not rumors more so, but teams that have been interested in Elias Lindholm. We're going to start off here with the San Jose Sharks. There are some rumblings around the league that suggest that the Flames have offered Elias Lindholm and goalie Dan Vladar in exchange for Logan Couture and highly regarded prospect William Eklund. Now, I gotta say, this is not a bad contract. We know the Calgary Flames are in a bit of a tight cap situation. Right now, I believe they're about $2.5 million over, but in the offseason, that does not matter whatsoever. But I gotta say, I do like the trade. Logan Couture has proved himself. He's been an NHL veteran at this point.
Yeah.
Very, very good player. And the highest prospect, I would say, in the San Jose group of William Eklund. I wouldn't say, though, this is the best idea for the San Jose Sharks. Elias Lindholm, yes, obviously they can get him for the future. He's still young, and he can sign for pretty much whatever the San Jose Sharks want to give him. They have cap space, but this may also lead to in my opinion, an Erik Karlsson trade. Getting a player with less cap, being able to potentially retain a bit more than what teams are willing to take on. So I think this could work in a very long sequence of things, but if the trade was just by itself, I don't know how I feel about it right now. The Calgary Flames, I think, would be good for them. Obviously, Elias Lindholm, we know had a good season last year. Pretty much just not as good as 2022, but still what you want. What you want out of a player on such how bad the team was. 64 points in 80 games. Didn't play the full 82. And then the season before, obviously, we know 82 and 82, second in Selke voting. So it's obviously what you want out of a player. But, Noah, what do you think about this Sharks deal going on with the Eklund and Couture for Vlad?
I don't like it for either side. The Sharks clearly want to rebuild. They're clearly in no position to win. Why would they take on 1 year of Elias Lindholm, who is probably not going to re-sign there either? They're in no position to win. And they give up their best prospect, well, arguably their best prospect. They did just draft Will Smith. In William Eklund. And, for Calgary, they're, like you said, they're in sort of, you got to go for it now. You got to try and win with what you got and try and, push for a cup. And bringing in a young guy doesn't make a whole lot of sense for that. I do like the Couture. I like you said, I think Logan Couture is proven player in the league. But in terms of bringing the young guy in, I don't understand it.
Yeah, my guess for that would be that they expect some players to leave in free agency next year, potentially hoping that he can make an NHL roster, crack the NHL roster next year to be able to get him in. Because we know he's good. He's very, very good. And Logan Couture, obviously, like I said, we know how good he is. He's been good for pretty much his entire career. But yeah, like you said, I don't know that the Sharks want to just take that 4.85 and just go with it for next year, because obviously they're not going to do anything next year. I think a trade would most likely have to come with an extension for most teams that we're going to talk about here today.
That's a good point.
Maybe not one, but I think for two of them, they're going to want an extension if this trade does come to fruition. But the Sharks, it's there. That's a trade. It would happen. There's nothing too much on it, too big on it. We're going to go to our second trade here, which I kind of like this one. The Boston Bruins, if they make a big splash on a trade, it sounds like their preference would be over Elias Lindholm, or Elias Lindholm over Mark Scheifele, excuse me. And this one I do like. I gotta say, we spoke about in last video that they'd be going after Trevor Zegras presumptively, because we know how shallow their center is now. It's not what you want for a big drop off from the season last season compared to what they did. Best record of all time in the regular season. They need an Elias Lindholm. They need a Trevor Zegras. They need a new center to go in. It's not a good situation to be in. But Noah, what do you think about the Boston Bruins as a trade option here? I got to say, I think this one is probably the most likely. I think it'd once again be hard to do with their prospect pool because they don't really have much of one. But I think it would be a good fit for Boston. They'd want an extension to keep him going for long term. But what do you think about it?
Yeah. Well, you can start calling us Bruins Digest maybe with the amount of Bruins videos we've been doing recently. But I think this makes a lot more sense. We discussed how many times the Bruins have a hole down the middle for their center core. And, I don't know if they'd make the money work, with the whole extension, figuring out the extension thing. And I don't know if they have the capital to do it. They don't have a lot of young guys. They don't have a lot of forwards they could bring back to Calgary. Like you said, we talked about Calgary needs to win now. Maybe Jake DeBrusk. I know I've seen a couple things here and there about DeBrusk maybe getting moved, but it makes sense. But I don't think the Bruins can have enough to trade.
I know, I do agree. Pavel Zacha right now is number one center. Not a number one center in my eyes. He could be a number two, could be a number one eventually. I like him. He's good. But Elias Lindholm would definitely be a number one center, what you want for Boston. Maybe to try and go after it one more year. I don't think it would happen at this point. They lost too much with Bergeron retiring. Krejci likely going to be retiring. It's just too much gone to be able to get what they did last season. But with our final trade, little rumor, team interested here, we have the Washington Capitals. I know this says a lot about the Leafs and stuff, but don't look at that. Just look at the first line here. I'm sure the Bruins and Capitals keep an eye on Flames Elias Lindholm. And I think, yes, they absolutely should, because we know the Capitals are on their last few seasons. Once Ovechkin's contract is retiring, I think that that's their term. They're done after that. I don't think that they'll be much of a competitor immediately after Ovechkin is done. But there's a few reasons that he would fit. I think that the Washington Capitals are all in. Elias Lindholm at 1 year would work for them, just to test the waters and possibly get a 2-year extension. Said he doesn't want to sign long-term with the Flames, but that could go with any other team as well. Signing a short-term with the Capitals until Ovechkin's contract expires, I think that would be a reasonable decision to put that contract out there. And I think that's something that Elias Lindholm would want to play with. It's kind of hard to pass up an opportunity to play with Alexander Ovechkin. How good the Washington Capitals is. But what do you think about this one? I think the Washington Capitals is probably my favorite trade location for Elias Lindholm, but what do you think?
It's mine as well. And, there is some rumors out of Washington as well as their number one center is requested a trade in Evgeny Kuznetsov. And, I keep saying both win now, the term win now, but the Capitals are also in a win now boat. You have Ovechkin expiring in the next couple of years. He's getting old. He's going to be ready to move on in a couple of years. But I think you maybe see not a 1-for-1 Lindholm for Kuznetsov. Obviously, Lindholm's a little bit younger and a little bit of a different contract situation. But I think you might see a premises of Kuznetsov going to Washington, or Kuznetsov going to Calgary, and Lindholm going to Washington.
It's a good idea. We've seen this before, kind of close on a 1-for-1. You could call it the 1-for-1 in the players. You might have a few prospects, a few picks, but in the basis of the trade, it is a 1-for-1. Just to change the scenery, and it's worked before, so I can't see why it wouldn't work this time. I think that like you said, the Calgary Flames and the Washington Capitals are both in a win now. So I think Kuznetsov getting a new location in Calgary with the forward core what they have, because it's not bad. It's not what they wanted last season. You can see here, still very good. Replacing Lindholm with, maybe Kuznetsov and then swapping Kadri, whatever they would do. I think it would work, but a change of scenery I think is necessary for both those guys, and I do like this location. Those are the only rumors we have here, though, the only little trade possibility destinations we have, but we'll be keeping up with this as long as it goes. The Calgary Flames need to make a decision quickly, I think, on what they want to do with Elias Lindholm, whether they want to try and re-sign him short-term, like a little bridge deal, or just trade him away, because, it's going to be a tough situation for them. They don't have much time for that type of situation until the season starts. Obviously, it's still close on 2 months for them, but that's all we got. If you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. Let us know what you think Elias Lindholm and the Calgary Flames may do, if he'll get traded, if he'll re-sign, where he might go if we didn't say it already in this video. Let us know down below. We want to hear what you have to say, but that's all. Make sure to like the video, subscribe. Thank you for watching. We're signing out. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you later.